Welcome to Rooted and Divine with me, Katelyn Paine, a podcast for women ready to shed old identities, heal, and align with their soul. Each week, we'll explore spiritual growth, healing, and personal stories that empower you to embody your truth. Rooted in humanity and fully alive as a divine soul. Welcome back to the Rooted and Divine podcast, beautiful souls. I'm so excited to connect with you today and kind of ground in the energy and just check in and see how everyone's feeling. We have about 1 week left until, the fire horse comes. And man, I am personally in it. And I don't think there's no one in my personal circle who's not in it. I'm in a beautiful group container, and every woman on the call this last week was like, the facilitator was like, type the frequencies in the chat. And it was like anger, rage, sadness, tired. And also coupled with, for me personally, I feel the depths of both. I'm feeling equally grateful and lit up and excited about what's happening. And then there's also parts of me that I'm like, wait, I thought I had mastered this lesson. I thought that I was done with this, or I wasn't expecting that one to come out of left field. And here I am, and I'm dealing with something that I thought I had put to rest inside of me. And it's really been just this truly fun soul journey, but so sucky at the same time. And I know you get what I'm saying. It's like, I'm like, this is what my soul came here to freaking do. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it well. But like, man, my human self is like, this is taking a toll, and it's really required for me to have a lot of extra rest and nourishment and slowness in my day so that I can make sure that whatever I'm doing, all parts of me are coming along. And I think in the future, I would really love to do a podcast about things that I'm learning, and in hopes that it would help you to unravel the lessons that you're learning. But just a few things, a few pinpoints I wanted to just anchor into the field is how important you are. And how important your health, your spiritual, mental, physical well-being actually matters. And we've been so conditioned as humans and as a society that because there are other people out there suffering, that we don't deserve to thrive. And then we can only be at a certain percentage or level of thriving and happiness if everyone is feeling that exact same way. And I was explaining this to a friend at lunch earlier this week. Social media is just always a mixed bag, and what we put into it is what we're going to get out of it. And it feels like in society right now, I mean, this has been this way the whole time, and it's been this way the whole time. And here's what I want to say about it is that if you have children, or right now, if I say, hey, don't think about pink elephants flying, the first thing that comes to your mind is pink elephants flying. If I tell my son, if he learns a bad word at school and then he's saying it around our house, I'm like, hey, buddy, we're not going to say the F word right now. You know what? He looks at me and just says it more. And he just thinks it's freaking funny. And this more seriousness that I put on him for not saying things that I think he should be saying at 6 years old, then the more he says it. And what we're moving out of right now collectively is a fear-based paradigm. And there will still be people who are in that paradigm, and that is okay. And there needs to be, I just feel like I keep getting told that there are some of you that need a permission slip to know that it's okay to be happy and to love your life right now, even amidst everything that's happening. And I heard on a podcast recently with Peter Crone and Amelia Ortiz, Amelia was saying, what do you think about everything that's happening in the world? All these people who are suffering, and what should we do about it? And Peter was like, you can't do anything about it. Like there's only so much within each of our personal control. And he's like, I almost view everything that's happening that's not within my control as, there's a term in the gaming world, I'm unfamiliar with gaming,
like the bystanders in the games that just, that's like the villains that are walking around like they're like a non-essential player. And he's like, because it helps me to have the contrast of who I actually want to be when I see the level of atrocity. And it's not condoning that, the level of atrocity that's happening, but it helps me to realize, okay, here's the frequency that I want to be. And so as we're on social media, as we're in our groups with our, family and friends, for me, the message really comes back to this, and that is, be the frequency, be the person that you want to see in the world. And to do that, own every part of your life and show up as that and be her. Be the woman you dream of being, even when you see other people suffering, even when you see the world stage not in accordance with what you wish that would be. And it goes, the macro and the micro, they just reflect each other. And I've said this so many times, that this world stage reflects the human consciousness. And yes, we love to point our fingers and we love to tell the government what they should be doing. And a lot of us don't even have the courage to look inside ourselves and to have peace in our own bodies. And yet we're asking for peace on a world stage. And a lot of you could be like, well, Katelyn, like the basic human rights. And I'm like, yes, but what basic human rights are you not allowing yourself to be in? And then from there, when you can't even have peace within yourself, I want you to think about your marriage, or your partnerships. Like maybe you're not in a committed romantic relationship, but you have primary relationships in your life. And I really want you to think about the way in which you conduct yourself in those relationships. Are you showing up with full love, integrity, and in full consciousness and presence? Or are you putting on masks? Are you not allowing yourself to be in fully seen? And I think if we can take this back, it really does make a shift in the frequency and the consciousness of the world. But the world would have you think that it doesn't. And it would have you think that if you just do one more post, and if you just repost something else in the energy of fear, that it will change something. But I want you to really think about, what does it feel like in your body when you are worried? Are you able to be in full presence? Do you have access to the God self within you? Do you have access to your intuition when you are in fear, worry, or lack? Because if you're not, then you're running on conditioning. You're running like a chicken with your head cut off. And a lot of times on Instagram, it's just like people think if you repost and you repost and you repost about bad things that are happening, then it's going to change something. But think about what you're reposting, or what you are posting about, and what is the energy and the frequency behind that post. If it is, I'm so scared, I don't even know what to do, I'm just going to repost this and I'm going to hope it helps change the world. Going back to the first example with my son, the more that I tell him to not say the F word, he's going to say it more. The more that I make him seem that it's really bad, it feeds the beast. And that is what we're doing on an energetic level. A lot of things, like the world stage, things need to die out. Things are coming to be revealed so that they can be disintegrated from society. But we as humans like to feel like we want to have a say in it. So we plug our energy back into the beast and we point our fingers and say, you shouldn't exist. And everyone, we go down the hole. And that energy alone continues to feed the paradigm that we claim that we want different. And so this has never been done before. We don't have a template for how this looks for us as a society, as humanity, as individuals in relationships, as moms. And so it's going to take intense integrity within self and presence and so much love and so much compassion. Because again, I had posted about this on Instagram just recently, like if tomorrow the world stage reflected all of the values that you claim that you want, would you be able to hold it? Because so many of us are in family situations, extended family situations, where we have borders between our families, emotional borders, physical borders, where we have contention that we don't even want to access, we don't even want to take care of with our families. And yet we're pointing fingers at a person in a higher state and saying that these should be different. So there's no shamesies in any of this, you guys. It's just really realizing, how does energy work and function? What is the frequency that we're bringing to the table? Frequency is everything. We are energetic beings. We are energy. Frequency gives us the freedom to see what is true. Tesla said, if you want to understand the mysteries of the world, we have to understand frequency. And you need to start understanding the frequency in which you are showing up in all the areas of your life, so that we, as light workers, as people who want a better world, can anchor in the frequency that we wish to be seeing, because we are the frequency. We become living emanations, and we can hold the rod and the staff of love, compassion, grace, and steadiness while the world is having a full-blown tantrum. That being said, this podcast today with Ericka is incredible. Ericka, I met her at a retreat. And you'll hear about, I mean, it was just like, I went to this retreat not knowing anyone, met women while I was there, but I had like grouped with I had been living like in an Airbnb with a certain set of women. They had kind of become my pod, but I was like, I am determined that I will put my big girl pants on, because I really felt I wanted to meet more women there. So it felt like I was in high school again, putting on my big girl panties and choosing not to sit with the pod. I felt comfortable and just like sitting at the nearest open table. And Ericka was the woman I sat next to. And we have just kept in touch over Instagram the last few years. Since that retreat, I have personally used her products and have loved them and been so touched by the curation and thoughtfulness of them. Ericka offers a different range of products on her website that offer psilocybin, and I've personally used her microdosing capsules and have been absolutely blown away by the quality and the way that they impact my life. And we talk about motherhood and the way that women are not prepared for motherhood. I was in a conversation with a woman earlier this week who's a doula, and she's a new mom. This is an Ericka, but it goes all together. She's on a mission to help moms learn how to make better choices for their kids, learn to be more informed so they can be empowered. Motherhood really is such a massive initiation that we as a society, men and women, have been so uneducated for and unprepared for. And Ericka and I talk about that these conversations are starting to shift. It's not even just motherhood, but like it's like, yes, motherhood is the threshold. We haven't been taught as women what it means to be a mother and what goes into that. And we don't have systems and supports from the community to support the massive initiation that motherhood is. But even beyond that, there's so many initiations within womanhood that we as women just graze on by, and then we get to motherhood and we're just fumbling over ourselves, because it's like, okay, well, this is what I was told what would make me happy. This is what I was told I should look like and do. And it's truly my belief, and that if we can start to restructure our communities and our families, our society, to support women and children at the center, so that women coming into motherhood are already feeling nourished and in their power, that when they give birth, they can speak up for what they need. They can speak up for how they want to be nourished and helped. A nourished mother gives birth to a nourished child who nourishes society. And so this goes beyond motherhood, but specifically we're talking about motherhood. And I know you guys are going to have so many beautiful takeaways from this. You'll hear about my experience in motherhood, Ericka's experience, and then you'll also hear about both of our experiences with the beautiful medicine of psilocybin and the way that that has helped us become more embodied as mothers and heal so many karmic ancestral patterns that I feel so many of us are here to heal, so that we can truly create a new earth. Ericka writes in her bio, Ericka Day is a guide shaped by seasons, cycles, and deep listening. As a psilocybin medicine facilitator and microdosing guide, she supported women through psilocybin-assisted ceremonies and microdosing to root deeply within themselves to rise and thrive. Now, in the tender initiation of motherhood, Ericka is in a conscious pause, and a liminal space of listening and becoming. She is allowing this initiation to shape her future work, while her devotion to plant medicine, women's inner landscapes, and sacred transitions continue to guide her. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. I know you will benefit from it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or reach out on DMs. And I love you guys so much. We can't do this without each other. Hello, beautiful souls. I have a very special guest coming on today. We met at a retreat a few years ago. Her name is Ericka, and her Instagram account is Ericka Day Rising, and she is a beautiful and special soul. I wanted to put this at the beginning, Ericka, is that when I was at the same retreat we were at, I had a moment where I had girls that I was there with, and I was like, I really want to get out of my comfort zone. And it was like that moment where you feel like you're in high school and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just like gonna put on my big girl panties. Like there's a bunch of women here who don't know each other, and I'm gonna sit at a table of which I do not know anyone. And
Glad here we are.
Here we are. It was Ericka's table that I sat at. And anyways, Ericka, welcome to the Rooted in Divine podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Katelyn. I'm just really looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. Ericka, Ericka, tell us a little bit, just an overview of what you do and who you are. And then if you don't mind, I would love to read the poem that you wrote and kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So, what I do is I am a psilocybin medicine facilitator and microdosing guide for women. I've worked with women to really help them root deeply within themselves, utilizing plant medicine so they can rise and thrive. But on the other side, I am recently a new mother. And so I've actually entered a really sacred pause where I have paused all of my work. And it's been a really conscious decision for me to just really focus and put my energy in the home. So I'm allowing this initiation to guide my work whenever I decide to come back to it and what it will look like as well.
There's so many women right now who I feel like are in that sacred pause, whether you just had a child or you didn't. I feel like you can glean from this conversation because so many women are shedding so many identities or walking through thresholds or initiations of which they've probably walked through in different levels throughout their life, but it's kind of feels like a new initiation, the biggest threshold that we could walk through. And today's conversation really feels like about initiation, and specifically we'll speak about motherhood. But I feel like whether you're a mother or not, you will absolutely, the motherhood archetype, belongs to all women, regardless of if you have birthed a human or not. And there's different ways in which motherhood can present itself. And so I can't wait to pull a bunch of these threads and talk about the inner landscapes of women and how we can stay rooted. And then also talk about how plant medicine has supported you in that journey. So if you don't mind, could I start by reading? Ericka, you guys has been posting poems that are just blowing me out of the water. And so I'd love to start with a poem that you wrote. Is that okay, Ericka?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So she posted this one on November 21st. And it says, "My son, your birth birthed the mother, forged through pain, blood, mystery, rising from the womb, shedding her maiden armor, sculpted for a masculine construct. No more. As I lay flowers at her grave, the mother drum beating, entrancing, shattering illusions. I sense the world with new eyes, heart, and tongue. Remembering where rivers flowed with honey, the mother revered. No desert gods to be found. On ancestral grounds we danced, shared, communed. My son, your birth invoked the memory of old, which hid deep in my bones.
Mm.
Mm, I have chills.
Oh, I got a little teary-eyed just hearing
I'm
you read
getting teary. For
that.
you, Ericka, what did the birthing of the mother feel like for you?
Mm. Intense, very intense, and it was and still is, I think, the biggest initiation I have gone through in my life. I feel it has stripped everything I thought that I knew about myself, my past identities, and it's gotten me really close to deep parts of myself that I've really hidden for a really long time. I mean, she threw me the great mother with the birth of my son and through postpartum, she threw me in the dense forest where I've just been lost and digging up buried parts of myself. I feel this motherhood initiation has really invited me to look at grief, longing, my relationship with rage, these parts of myself that I think were yearning to be seen. And it's almost as if I've been breaking down so I could be built up into something different. You know, it's like this evolution that's been happening for myself. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I just feel I haven't heard the motherhood initiation be spoken about as much in circles or in our society. So it really surprised me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is so true about the initiation of motherhood, and it can be interpreted in so many ways. And one way that it's interpreted in the Western world is, and I am one who I've birthed two sons, and so my first birth, I feel like really I went into it, and then I went back working at 6 weeks
Mm.
because I was
Wow.
just so like, like, I'm just gonna keep going. It was still this energy of like, I just still have to maintain parts of me. I just want to grab and grasp. And I was like, okay, this isn't bad. This is pretty easy. I got this. And then it was my second son who I felt like I was like, it was almost that I didn't get the full initiation because I just really didn't want to go there. There was so much that I had to already initiate myself in when I personally chose to have a home birth and chose to
Yeah.
not use a lot of interventions. And so I was the
Mhm.
first of my friend and family. So there was a lot of a leading up to the birth of initiatory, like reclaiming my power and my sovereignty, where I didn't feel postpartum. I feel like I just had to find some stability in who I was in the past. And my
Yeah.
second son, I had stopped working. We had moved states. My husband was working two jobs. I moved to a place where I didn't have any support. My mother in law was a huge support system for me postpartum. And that is where I feel like I already had gained my power back. I knew the type of birth I want to have. I knew what I was capable of. I knew my connection. But it was the post, I feel like it happened for me in two phases. It was the postpartum phase with my second son that just literally the great mother took me into the depths of the ocean and parts of me that I didn't even know I had
Yeah.
lost were parts that I had to be with at the bottom of this ocean of feeling this tremendous amount of pressure and just sadness and grief and rage where you're like, what is happening? And um, yeah, I really resonate with that so heavily.
Yeah.
What?
Absolutely. And I think what's really beautiful. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
What I think is really beautiful about what you shared is you've had two different experiences. One where you were, you know, trying to go back to maybe how things were.
Hmm.
And then the second one, it sounds like you were really able to embrace the slowing down process. And I think through my experience, I did the same thing. I chose a natural birth and I really made a conscious decision to pause work. And I think having that support system in place and being able to slow down and being safe actually in the pause allowed me to go into the depths of what the great mother husband was trying to show me. And I think a lot of that for me actually was initially working with psilocybin in my life. It was such a huge tool to really till the soils of my foundation. So when motherhood came around, I could just plunge into the depths because my soils had already been tilled. They weren't hardened, and I wasn't trying to hang on to who I was. Um, and and I think feeling safe in the pause and feeling more safe in the feminine allowed me to enter into this initiation into motherhood in a different way than if I probably wouldn't have worked with psilocybin. It probably would have been very different for me personally in my
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I really see that as you coming in with a different level of consciousness. Like you had the feminine feeling. And I think you also explained it in your poem of you said, the maiden armor sculpted for the masculine construct. You already had an idea of what that meant. And what did that look like for you, shedding that maiden armor and parts of you? Were you not totally aware of the arm? Like what part of you wasn't aware of the armor, and how did you identify that and just sit with it?
Yeah, I think I was shedding the maiden armor slowly over time with psilocybin. But
Mhm.
what I mean by the maiden armor is I felt like for a long time in my life, I was stuck in the constantly doing, the hustling, the grinding. I was in corporate for a long time, climbing the ladder. It didn't feel safe to be in more of the feminine flow, creativity, sexuality spaces for myself because growing up, motherhood was not honored in the home that I grew up in, so I rejected everything about becoming a mother, and even to where I rejected my own mother. And so over time with psilocybin, with diving deep into myself through journey work, through microdosing, I was slowly starting to shed those pieces of starting to feel more safe in my body for to be able to slow down, to be able to see what was really going on in my household and have those rose-colored glasses lifted off to where I was able to now repair a relationship with my mother and heal this mother wound. So, leading up to motherhood and entering into birth, I feel there were still parts of my maiden armor that were still attached. And a lot of it had to do with my own voice, actually.
Mm.
I allowed others to utilize my voice in different ways, or I wasn't true to myself and how I was speaking. And so I am really on this journey now of what does it mean to reclaim my own voice? And that's when the poem started really coming out to like the truth of me because I think a part of me still had this outer shell that was like everything's okay on the outside. And then when the great mother threw me in the dense forest, that's when I really hit that grief and deep rage, things from my lineage and ancestry and family, and I hadn't touched that in some time. So it's just been such a journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I think anyone would have looked at you prior to having like having your son and been like, what a powerful woman. Like this woman owns a business. She's helping women get on their own path. And it really is a beautiful picture of this. The journey is a spiral. It is a never ending, I listened to I was watching a documentary this morning, and this man talked about how we cannot surrender or come to acceptance or for full closure with what we have not yet seen. And these different things that happen in our life. He's like, it's looking at an iceberg in an ocean and saying, hey, iceberg, fully surrender to me. But the iceberg doesn't really even know that it has a full
Mhm.
layer, you know what I mean? A full
Yep.
thing under it. And it's like, it's come motherhood really wraps you in so much because so much emotions come up. It's like you literally just birth new life. And through that new amount of energy coming through you, it can't help but not bring up old, dense energy, whether your own or through your lineage, that must be looked at. And there is a surge of women now who have the capacity to look at that. and who are wondering, okay, is this all motherhood is just birthing children and feeding babies and cleaning up poopy diapers and these mundane tasks. And so what is it like, what has been the process for you? Like in the mundane moments, where have you reclaimed your voice, or where have you let yourself soften, or what does that look like for you day to day? I'm thinking about the mom who's like, I'm just kind of drowning and I just was told I need to be a mother and I have all this anger or grief inside of me, but I don't really want to look at it. I just want to shove it down because I have children,
Yeah.
and people that need me. So, what does that look like for you
Absolutely.
so far?
I think first it was actually reclaiming the perspective of motherhood. I think words and narratives have a huge impact on how we operate in our world.
Mhm.
And at first for me, it was a slow realization of realizing how sacred it is to be a mother, and that is even in the mundane tasks. I mean, I think that being a mother and being in the home and tending to you're tending to life actively at its source. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we're just changing diapers, we're cooking dinner, whatever," but that is the backbone of our society. If like you do your so it's like I just feel that people who support in the home in that way, it allows others and the mother to do their best work outside of the home. I mean, the home is a sacred, safe place. It should be. And so I think it was for me just realizing how sacred this work is and reclaiming that, because
Mhm.
all I had seen growing up was that mothers are just run ragged, they don't have support, they give up everything, and I think really changing the narrative on that and letting myself be made by this experience instead of trying to hang on to what was before. So that was a huge shift for me in the and even in the mundane of like I'm like rocking my son to sleep constantly or, you know,
Mhm.
all these diapers. And I think it was just realizing how sacred this is and just softening into that experience. And I think that's where psilocybin was really supportive for me because it really helps you to rewire thought patterns and to slow down and to be in the present. Because I think it's easy for us, especially as moms, to be, rocking our child or feeding our baby and just thinking of the a million things we have to do. So it's been a process of me slowing down to be in that moment and to be with those parts of myself. So I think that has helped me tremendously through this process. Absolutely. And also to honor those feelings that you're feeling of like rage, grief, sadness, to create some kind of space to start touching the tip of the iceberg, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I was on a walk with a friend the other day who has young children, and she was explaining that to me. She's like, I have this anger inside of me. It feels so heavy and deep. And I go to touch it, and I just feel like it might overcome me. It might be
Yeah.
more than what I can handle because I know that I have to. She's like, I just feel like I have to use all my resources to support my children. And she's like, and I feel guilty for saying that. I feel like sometimes there's like a ball and chain, like they're just strapped to me and there's no space for me. And for you, how have you made space for you? How have you made space to access those feelings and those parts?
Yeah. I think for me, I think our support system is huge and building that community. And I think having that support system in place or building that community to where you can carve some sacred time for yourself has been important for me. And I actually went through a huge process of grieving about the community aspect. I feel once you enter motherhood, I think there's a deeper community aspect that we all are craving,
Mhm.
including myself. But I have leaned on my husband and my mother-in-law for that support to have a little bit of space and spaciousness around myself. So I think that has been tremendously helpful for me. But if you don't have that support system or space, it's hard to know where to start with that,
Yeah.
because I think as mothers, we get so overwhelmed with our day-to-day life and trying to do it all. So I kind of learned to start letting certain things go to be able to access those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just at a at a core level for me, it was just realizing that I matter. Like like you said, we are the ones who are the mothers are the ones who are tending to the source at the center, at the core of where it
Yeah.
begins. And if we are doing that, then we also must be giving from a place of which life flows through us. How could we tend to life if we are not life itself? In my mind, how can we
Yeah.
tend and grow these humans if we are not being the emanation of what we hope that that we are sacrificing our time and our efforts and hoping for them to be? But if we are doing it with the energy of lack, or I don't
Mhm.
deserve, or I just have to because I was told, think about that underlying energy and what that is telling our children, and why we as women now, that's why you and I are having this conversation. And to
Yeah.
begin with, is that we were raised by women who weren't nourished, who didn't feel like they had the time or the space to be themselves, to like let life fill them so they could give to us. That's why you're like, I just saw women who were like running ragged and had nothing, and wore a medal for it of like, yes, I'm running ragged and I'm in sheer chaos.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we're getting to this point where like, this cannot be what this means, you know?
No, yeah, and I think it's about shifting those narratives in our
Mhm.
society because I think in our society, it's almost as if motherhood is not sacred. It is not honored in our society,
Yeah.
from how mothers are treated, how we're supported in the community as a whole, to postpartum leave. I mean, it's a huge topic, and I think we can start to change it by having these conversations. It's like, I wanna bring sacredness back to motherhood and to women who are birthing humans and life and becoming mothers. It's like there has to be some kind of better process around initiation and holding these women in our communities. It changed everything for me becoming a mother because I realized I wasn't there for a lot of my friends when they became mothers. I'm one of my
Mhm.
last of my friend group to have a child, and I look back and I'm like, "Wow, if I would have known,"
Mhm.
and so I think I learned too, through this process of also asking for help. And that is a hard thing to do as women because we're raised to be like independent and, we can do it all. But I realized through postpartum how much I needed others.
Mhm.
And it's so beautiful that your mother-in-law was such a huge support for you because same. I read the 41st Days book, which is all about honoring your postpartum period. And my mother-in-law basically stayed at our house for 40 days and cared
Mm.
for me. And I had it set up to get like we had meals delivered. It was like I set it up in a way that it was a sacred container. But I wouldn't have received that if I wouldn't have asked for support and help.
Yeah.
For sure, and I think that's so hard to do.
It's
Can be so
so
hard.
hard to do, especially as you said in your poem, the maiden armor. It's like when we're eight, you learn when you're little that you are an inconvenience at some level. Everyone has that wound of like, you're a burden, or you're too much, or you're too little, or you're too loud. And we learn that we're not safe to speak our needs, to be who we are. And then you leave and you're 18. And then between 18 and 30, you're just through this rolling shit show of like, who am I? Who am I not? And what is this? And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I've been living like a man, and I've been trying so hard to keep up with this patriarchal world, and everything in my whole body is shutting down. And we're like, why are women not getting pregnant? Why are our periods so off? Why are women the ones who struggle the most with autoimmune diseases? Because
Mhm.
we have literally learned as a women's society, like women, to turn against ourselves and
Yes.
to not seek support. With a feminine, she is receiving, the great mother. She receives, she calls to her. She is the life. And I think that, that shedding of the maiden armor and that not bringing that into motherhood is so vulnerable because what you and I are talking about, we don't necessarily have a template for. Like, yes, we can read books like The 40 Days. Like, yes, we're starting to be more progressive, but a lot of us still don't have the lived experience, I feel like, of community, tribal, nurturing motherhood, where you said, like, it's still like, yes, there are pockets within the universe of where motherhood is sacred. And we have ideas, and we're still trying to bring those ideas down and make them a reality while still dealing with a large majority of society who doesn't necessarily support or have that foundation to like restructure society so that the mothers and the children are at the center so that we can birth a more nourished world. Because a mother who is nourished can nourish her children, and a children who is nourished by a mom who is resourced, who knows who she is, who is connected to her power. I mean, what we would have a much different world.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I view mothers as, they're hearth keepers and,
Yeah.
keepers of the hearth. It's such a symbolic, sacred act. Way back thousands of years ago, women were keeping the fire lit inside the home. That's where food was cooked, laundry was dried, where conversations happened. It was the heart of the home. And now, our heat sources are very different, but it's still the same symbolism of women are the hearth keepers, the heart of the home. And if the hearth keeper itself, if she is not nourished, that really impacts, I think, the energy of the home. So there has to be a restructuring of a perspective shift, even among, partners, children, family members, to start orienting in a different way in our society. Because I truly believe that if we do that, if we orient to what you said, centering mothers and children, I think we would have a totally different world. Absolutely. It's wild how far we have strayed. I mean, we live in such a mysterious world, right? We just are born here, we wake up here, and we're like, "Whoa." And we have the capacity to change narratives. Everything in our world has been created by a thought or an idea from a
Mhm.
human, even
Mhm.
the societal structures we live in. So it's like it's up to us to have these conversations to touch the grief and the rage that we experience as mothers, because I think that's an important piece of the initiation. Rage is underneath it, rage is
Mhm.
desire.
Mm.
It's desire for something different, for
Mm.
something that we are all wanting. And I
Mm.
think it comes back to that nourishing community, that support, to be held, to feel safety and security. Because if you don't feel that, I think it's very hard to feel rooted in yourself and then also rooted within your mothering. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, I think what would you say for the woman who's like, I don't know how to touch my rage? You've been in in medicine ceremonies, and now you've been in
Mhm.
motherhood. So you have seen the full spectrum of women feeling lots of things in different scenarios. So for a mother, what would be like she's like, okay, I feel it, but like, what do you mean feel it? What does that even mean to feel my anger? How would you walk her into that? Or what picture
Yeah.
would you paint for her to access that rage and how
Yeah.
actually nourishing it might feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first is having a conversation of rage can be an uncomfortable feeling to access, especially if, I think we've also been taught in our society to view rage as bad. I think all the expressions of rage and anger we have seen are violent. And
Mhm,
so a reorientation of what does it look like for this woman to touch or express her rage? Like, what is going to feel natural to her? And I think touching your rage means you have to have a way to express it, because my experience within postpartum is I let my rage build up and then I would explode. And so there's different ways to access that rage. So is it writing? Is it moving your body? Is it sitting for a moment and just feeling, okay, what is it that I feel rage about? Maybe it's just one topic that comes to mind. So I think it just starts with kind of dipping your toes in the water with that rage feeling, because for some people, if they haven't had access to it, it can be very dismantling.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So you wanna just kinda start sipping off of it slowly, I believe, and then finding ways to express it that feel natural for that person. And maybe it is going in your room and, like, throwing pillows. You know, I mean, that
Mhm.
is an option to express rage in a healthy way for sure. But I think that's where I would start, is perspective and seeing what is that person's ability to be in the discomfort of those feelings, because that's where the magic really happens.
Yes. And I think something that could help soften if you are a woman who is like, "What? I don't know really how to get there." Also just acknowledging our past of like, what did you learn about a woman who had rage? What did you perceive about a woman who was angry?
Yes.
Because sometimes when we can like, okay, well, what do I think about women who are angry? Or what was I taught if I was ever angry as a child? What did my mom teach me about feeling anger? Or my dad teach me about feeling anger? Like my dad taught me that feeling anger was very unsafe. Yeah, or that you just lose all sense of control, or that you become violent, or that a woman who is in rage needs to be medicated, or,
Mm,
that's where we're
yeah,
coming from. And it
yeah,
needs to be acknowledged. I think sometimes I feel like for me at the beginning, that was kind of a key for me of like, oh, wow. Okay. Like women who experienced real feelings were put into insane asylums. Women who expressed rage were drugged and put
yes,
like literally put down like animals, and that lives in our DNA, that lives within the genome of a being a woman. And so I think that that must be, it's like a little gateway that as you walk into the rage, it's just acknowledging that for me of like, okay, like I acknowledge the pain of my ancestors, I acknowledge the pain of my own mother lineage,
yes.
and now I walk into what is mine to feel. And I love what Erica said, just any of those practices of like, okay, you don't have to even speak it. I'm just going to start by writing it. I
Yes.
feel so angry. And sometimes just even letting yourself say, I feel so angry. And letting yourself, I think too, it's okay to give yourself permission. Like, I feel so angry about being a mom. Because
Oh,
we have
yeah.
so much shame around like, well, because we've had so much conditioning around what it means to be a mom. It's like, oh, well,
Yes.
you get married and then you find your partner and then you have a child and then your life is fulfilled. And then every part of you is just like, my life is amazing. And I'm in a Disney movie just birthing children and it's the best, you know? And then you realize, oh my gosh, this is like actually a complete shithole.
What I Oh my god, yes, Caitlin,
Ye
I love that, because I think part of this reclaiming of motherhood is also mothers speaking truth about the
Mm,
experience. We need
yeah.
truth back
Yes.
into this experience. Motherhood is both beautiful and so fucking hard.
So
And a mess some days, and some days you're like, "Oh my god, I'm a mom, holy crap, like,
yeah.
this is so hard." I mean, there are days you just wanna pull your hair out, and I think all of that is okay.
Mhm.
It's We need the truth spoken back about the experience of motherhood
Mhm.
among women. You know, I think that
Yeah.
that could also change everything, to so we don't feel, because I think a lot of us as mothers maybe don't touch those emotions or those feelings because we feel guilty. We feel
Yes.
guilty for taking time for ourselves, for feeling these things, because we've been conditioned to try to look like the perfect mom, who's always
Yes.
happy, who just never rocks the boat,
Yeah.
who is the caretaker, and it's like, "No. No, no, no. No." Yeah. It's just we gotta change it.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
conversation at a time.
Totally. And like I said, we don't have a template. We don't have a template. And so we just have to also in this for me now, with you and me, like, yes, we're having this conversation. And then when I go back to my motherhood life, I have to give myself so much grace because I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I am still healing. Like, it's like the child raising the child. There's still like this motherhood has brought up so many parts of me that needed to
Mm.
have a mother. And
Yeah.
now my child is screaming and crying, needing a mother. And then there's a part of me who's screaming and crying who also needs a mother within this experience.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, where is the actual mother? Because I don't know if I'm even capable of mothering you right now because I can't even mother myself right now.
That's like the truth of the experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. It is.
Yeah. And so it's so much grace. Well, I, we have all these we like to think of like, I'm going to be the mom that grows my own vegetables. My kids are going to pick from my garden. I'm going to live on a farm and I'm going to homeschool and I'm going to do all these things. I had like before having kids, I was like, if I ever had kids, this is what it would look like, and then you get into the actual experience. And for me, it's just been a dismantling of any illusion, whether I thought it was like a good perception to have, like, oh, well, I would want my kids to be raised in nature. Oh, I would want my kids to have a Montessori experience. I'd want my kids to have a Waldorf experience, or I want my kids to just always be with me all the time, because that's what this person says, And
Yeah.
it really, to me, motherhood is this reclamation of the full self without
Yeah.
any stories, because that's, to me, what the mother drum is beating, is like everything you
Mhm.
think you are, every illusion, whether we thought it was good, whether you think of home birth is great or a hospital birth is great, or you think that eating this way is great or this way, it's like a dismantling,
Oh,
because
yeah.
nowhere else, I mean, there is probably other places. There is places. But once you get to motherhood, you have about 5 million voices screaming at you of like, live this way, do it this way, this is the way, do this mothering thing. And it's where you have so many voices that are creating the construct and the energy that you are supposed to bring to the table. And all of a sudden you realize, who am I? Because I'm just pulling energies from all these different people trying to raise a human.
Oh,
And what
yeah.
has been your experience with that?
Oh, absolutely. I feel that with birth and postpartum and entering new motherhood, it stripped everything I thought that I knew about myself,
Mm.
and to where I still don't know who I'm becoming. And I feel that I'm in this, what I call the fertile void. I'm just like, I'm undone and I'm being held right now in my undoneness. And I
Mm.
think it has been such a practice to be okay with the pause, with all the stuff I've shed and not knowing who I'm becoming, because it's like you said, I'm just learning every day about myself, about my mothering experience. And yes, I've done a lot of plant medicine work with women in the past, and I'm pausing right now and I'm just like, what does all of this look like for me moving forward? Because I am literally being changed to the core in my day-to-day experience with my son, and how I feel about the world and how I see the world and how I just feel about everything. And so in my experience, it's been really dismantling. Absolutely. I mean, I struggled in postpartum in a lot of ways, and I remember that in my postpartum experience, I went through this period of just like immense silence. Like I didn't want to be on my phone. I just wanted to be with myself in those moments. Like I would rock my son to sleep in the dark and I would just be in the dark and I would just be in those deep places. I'd be weeping, sobbing, because it was as if I hit the well of my ancestry, my lineage, my mother wound. Everything was just pouring out, pouring out, pouring out while I'm rocking my son. So it was incredibly dismantling, because I've done a lot of medicine work and I have healed a lot of stuff and I've embraced so many parts of myself. But I would say motherhood is like no other journey I've been on. So, and if you're open to it, she's gonna break you open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was speaking about this in a podcast just recently, but it's like right now we're still in the year of the snake. And I think in this last month before we hit, the year of the horse, the fire horse, it really feels like so many relationships are coming to a close or coming to a threshold of like, is this working? Is this not working? And with motherhood, there's nowhere to hide. No part of you can hide in motherhood. In a
Yeah.
marriage, there's still places for you to hide. You can still hide behind identities and your work, and you kind of still have separate lives. But as a mom, you're confronted daily with this human that mirrors right back to you the places in which want to be seen and heard and felt. And it is so uncomfortable because you want to make it mean like something is wrong about you or something is wrong with your child. And then we go through full journeys of like, well, should I take him to the doctor? And does he need to go to the chiropractor? Does he need to get craniosacral? Does he need to change his food? Do I need to change formula? Do I need to breastfeed? Should I stop breastfeeding? Like, our minds like to try to ignore. I love how you painted that picture of like, I just sat and sobbed. And I feel like that's the medicine that mothers need more than ever today, is just feel the feel
Yeah.
the sobs running through you without having to make it mean I am broken. I like, this is not good that I'm feeling this, or my kid needs help. Like, whatever the child is mirroring to, yes, mother's intuition is real, use that. But I feel we've dissociated so much from the essence and the rootedness and the groundedness of motherhood with all of these parenting techniques and different health things and
Oh, yeah.
different ways to go about it, so that we don't actually have to face the thing that these children want the most from us, which is us, the
Present.
true, authentic presence. They're just
Mhm.
like, I just want you. And we're like, okay, well, tell me what that means. And let me take a mother course. Let me listen to a mothering podcast. You know what I mean? Well, what does
Yeah.
that mean to be? Okay, it means to be in play, looking in my child's eyes. Like, your son needed you to just sit with him and sob, to know that it was like, there's no right or wrong here. There's no template. And that is the great mother. That is the mystery. That is the feminine. It's like this weird vortex of chaos/peace. And it's like, what does the moment require of me now? Because
Yes.
the past is an illusion. It's all gone. There is this one moment here with this tiny soul who is bringing forth something in me.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful and so real. And I think we have I've noticed through my work with plant medicine, with the kind teacher, with supporting tons of people with microdosing,
Uh-huh.
journeying, it is it is almost as if everyone in society is in some way disassociating from feeling
Yeah.
and from facing things in our life. And it doesn't mean that you have to dive right in. There's a time and place for when somebody wants to face those truths, but I feel psilocybin and motherhood almost kind of go hand in hand a little bit because psilocybin is root work. It plunges you and it can plunge you into the parts of yourself that you have lost, negotiate away, left for dead. And often, those parts are right next to the grieving grounds. So there is a reclamation get that can happen with psilocybin. And it goes to sometimes the root of the wound. And I
Uh,
feel motherhood is the root work as
uh,
well, the
uh.
initiation. So it's so fascinating to me how they go hand in hand, um, in my experience. And, psilocybin in nature, it grows off of death, decomposition. So it grows off of what's dying inside of you. And I feel motherhood is similar in ways. The great mother will eat the maiden for breakfast. I mean, 100%. So there's just some interesting correlations I've been reflecting on with my experience with psilocybin and this journey of motherhood that I've entered into.
That's so beautiful. That's been my experience with psilocybin, is it just feels like a mother energy. Before I even had the words to say, this feels like a mother energy, it felt exactly that. And in my first experience with psilocybin, is so funny that this is just coming to me now. We've talked about all this. I went into the ground. I was at the roots of my very being in just so much pain. And so much where the mother was just showing me, this needs to decompose. This must be felt in order for it to be decomposed. Can you let it run through you and out of you so that it can go back into the earth for transmutation and healing so that you can rise as who you truly are. And it was through psilocybin that I really realized how manly I had been living.
Same.
I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was this reclamation of the feminine spirit for me deep within the roots of my very being. Because that was it. I just remember it was just me and my husband. I just remember, anyone who's done plant medicine, they'll totally understand. If you've never done it, you'd be like, what the heck? But I was like, I'm under the ground and I'm in so much pain. And I'm at the very root
Mm.
of my very being.
Yeah.
And that was when it was just a slow journey of coming out of the earth and coming out as who I really was, but I couldn't do it with the maiden armor, with the masculine construct in which I viewed myself of always rigidity and push like to depletion and proving myself and
Yeah.
just always on the go and not living with my cycles in any way or honoring my cycles of energy in any way. Just like, I need to prove.
Yes, and it's so interesting, Caitlin, because, I find all the women that I've worked with through journey work, it's a very similar experience.
Mhm.
All of them seem to be shedding part of the maiden armor masculine construct and reclaiming part of the feminine. So it's a collective thing, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think it's so beautiful where you went in your journey because those are some hard, deep places to go to. I'm curious how you felt on the other side of that, if you noticed some shifts for yourself.
Oh, massive shifts. It catapulted my life in a completely different direction. I came out of that being like, I am a goddess. What have I been doing? Like, it felt like I had been living in a cast, like just a shell, like a very hardened cast, just trying to make all these components work. And then psilocybin really brought me back to I am a feminine soul. And I am like
Mm.
the feminine has been lost. And this, I hadn't read any books. I didn't have lead up to this. Like, it wasn't like I was in a feminine spiritual group or I was reading feminine, you know what I mean? Like, it was
Yeah.
like a full reclamation for me, where before that I was really
Wow.
just trying to identify where I was at with my childhood religion. And then all of a sudden I went into this full page. I was like, I am acting like a man. I am trying to work within the constructs and the confines of a masculine energy. And what's missing from the nourishing parts of my life is this feminine yin essence that just wants to be
Mm.
receive and relax. Like, it felt like my life up until that point, and I still vacillate between this, but I have the awareness now where the masculine feels like I'm living in the front of my body. It's just like, wow, I'm here trying. And I just realized the feminine is this. I'm sitting in the throne of my body. I am the queen
Mm.
of my life. I sit into the back and I let life come to me because I remember the very essence of my being, that
Wow.
I didn't have to try so hard. And I mean, that one medicine journey changed me forever. Like,
Oh my
absolutely changed the course of my life. And then, from there, it was just a full rabbit hole of like, wait, other women are doing this. Oh, other women are talking about this on Instagram. Oh, wait, there's like whole communities around this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's becoming such a the perspective has changed a
Mhm.
lot on psilocybin, and I'm so glad because it's earth medicine.
Yeah.
It helps us tap into something greater than ourselves and can help us tap into ourselves in the deepest way. And what I love about it, which I'm so fascinated by, is I feel it deep conditions us
Mhm.
from patterns and ways of being and ways of thinking that we've been stuck in or that we have grown up in. I mean, all of us grew up in a childhood environment where we probably are still hanging on to old narratives that aren't even ours to begin with, that are still impacting how we show up in our life. And psilocybin is so beautiful because it can strip those narratives away. It's deconditions us from the societal constructs. And it does that through, brain science. It rewires the brain in different ways. And I think it's also psychosomatic. Like what I've seen in the journey space, specifically with women and my own experiences, there are huge releases in the body that can happen when you're under this medicine. And it's as if, I think as women, we repress so much and have in our society that it gets lodged and stuck in the body. And so
Mhm.
I had a woman that she raged and screamed, I mean, almost her whole journey. She was just releasing rage. And it was the most beautiful thing I have seen because she released so much that when her husband picked her up from the airport, he was like, "You feel different."
Mm.
I mean, she just released so much. So there's so much beauty with this medicine. And I think there is so much more to be discovered as well. It's the most incredible, one of the most incredible gifts I think we have on this earth. It's literally grown from the earth. And I just feel it is such a powerful tool for that deep introspection and connection to other things in our life.
I agree. What perspective shift could you give any woman who's like, I feel that either I have two different types of people in my sphere of one who only use psilocybin as like a party drug, which my experience with the caliber of the essence of psilocybin is that she does not like to be used that way because she
Yeah.
feels very sacred and she feels like I have very specific frequency and there's no shame in people who do that. But it just, some of them are like, well, that's all I've ever known. And then there's the other camp that's like, very conservative, more religious of like, this is evil. We can't be doing this very often. What type of perspective change do you give women who are in those two camps?
Oh gosh, there's so many.
Yeah, I
Because well,
know.
first, I think we have to really look at the term drug. I mean, alcohol, for example, is legal, but it has
Mhm.
been proven to be a huge neurotoxin to the body and the brain, where psilocybin, all the research that's been done on it, it rewires the brain. It slows aging in the in our telomeres. It rewires for anxiety, depression, PTSD. It's actually healing people to where alcohol does not. So I think you have to look at the societal narratives that have been pushed on what's okay versus not. What's okay is tons of pharmaceuticals and alcohol, which are all, there's different trains of thought on that, but those are really not all natural things where psilocybin is natural. It cannot be patented and it actually supports people to connect within themselves then rather than disconnect. Because
Mhm.
that other bucket, you can disconnect hardcore with all those other things. So I think that's a huge perspective shift. And I think if someone's really just trying to understand this medicine and just look at the research. I mean, I know some people like to have the knowledge before the felt feeling. And I think just reading the research, talking to people who have experienced it can be such a huge, profound perspective shift. And then also, psilocybin likes intention. So you can utilize it to microdose and hike in the wood. That's fine. But if you really are wanting to shift yourself and your life and to feel connected and in a different way, I think you just want to approach psilocybin with that intention, and that will change the whole experience for that person. Because there are people that utilize it for partying and all of that, but I think it's just so much more powerful when used with intention, with transformation.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was telling my husband about started doing our podcast together today, and I have personally used Erica's um, microdosing capsules and have loved it. And my husband was like, I didn't even know that you did that. Like, and he's like, how often do you do that? And I'm like, oh, I was like, I've shown them to you before. Like, he knows that, he just forgets they're in the medicine cabinet. And, but that has been my exact experience is that she calls to me. And when she calls, I answer. And there have been times where my heart calls to her and she answers and it feels like I'm in a relationship with her. Where
Mm.
if
Mhm.
I know that when I had like there's so many different protocols that you can have for microdosing and we can cut this out of the podcast if I shouldn't say this, but I'm just like, F protocols. My soul knows and she knows, and I am in relationship to her and she's in relationship to me and wants to help me become. And he's like, how often do you do that? I'm like, when my soul calls, when she calls to me, it's just this pull because like she helps me. The microdosing is so beautiful
Mhm.
when it just softens me. Like it's like every armor that I have around my heart that's really, sometimes I become so, it just is so hard for me to look at that armor. I'm like, I know that it's there, but I'm having a really hard time releasing my grasp on what I'm making this mean. And I feel like that's at times when I know she's calling me. Like she's
Oh,
in a certain place in my
beautiful.
medicine cabinet and I just know. I'm like, it's the day. Because there have been days where she hasn't called to me or I haven't called to her, or there's been a moment where I'm like, I just have so much anxiety and I just wanted to like, maybe psilocybin will help me. Like it just feels a little bit more reactive. And I take her and it does nothing. Like it's like she's like, no, you didn't use me with intention. It wasn't time. You had the tools and you didn't use them. And where there's a, for me, it feels like this very magical relationship of when I know that I'm feeling called to her or she calls to me, it opens up my heart in this microdosing way. It's so powerful.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
even just the microdosing. I'm like my whole heart just feels like, it feels like my whole essence is pouring through my body. And then I can just come to the back of my body again and observe what's happening to me, let it move through me, and
Mm.
then just decide how I want to feel about it, or just, oh, I'm letting this go now. Oh, I was holding so tightly. Thank you, Mother Psilocybin, for just helping me release the tiny tendrils in the grasp I have. So that's been my
Oh my
relationship
gosh.
and to psilocybin, how it's grown, and your brand, her brand is called The Kind Teacher, you guys, and it's so thoughtful, so thoughtfully curated, and the way that she's branded it just also, I feel like was done with so much intention because it really opens up the narrative of what psilocybin is, the way that it's packaged, the way that you label it, how it comes, everything about it. I love it. And it comes with a little magnet and it says mushrooms are the original medicine. I don't know if it still comes with that. When I order it, it does, but my son has it on his lunchbox at school.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
He loves that magnet so much. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, you can wear it. You can put it on your lunchbox to school. So
That is so incredible, and I feel your description and experience of how you explained your experience with microdosing is
Mhm,
so profound and so beautiful, and I'm so happy with how, you know, she has supported you in this relationship you have with her because that's how I feel it unfolds. There are protocols you can follow, of course, but you also can follow your own intuition. And I find a lot of women start to tap into that intuition piece with psilocybin.
mhm,
So it's about when are you answering the call? And so, I think following a protocol can be beautiful for that first 12 weeks if you're really looking to decrease anxiety, depression, or dive deeper into yourself. But man, once you start on that into an intuitive path, I think it's so beautiful because that's how I work with psilocybin as well. Very intuitive. When she calls, I listen, and similar to how you approach her as well. There was a big period of my life where leading up to motherhood, I was journeying myself once a month. And so that was like a big period of time where she was calling so deep, so deep. I kept going deep, deep, deep. And then, I haven't done a journey for myself since summer solstice of last year. So she hasn't called for some time, but I know she will at some point. But it's an ever-changing relationship, and psilocybin will always be part of my life because I think you described it beautifully. It does, microdosing is beautiful because it allows you to soften and it allows you to kind of unclench. And I think sometimes our armor can just be built up within the day with
mhm.
daily life going on. And I think it can help us to come home to ourselves. And I think another piece, what's interesting about psilocybin is she can amplify things. So if somebody has a lot of anxiety, depending on what's going on that day, she could amplify that anxiety for that day because she's trying to get you to notice, where does this anxiety come from? What changes and shifts do I need to have happen in my life? So it's interesting because when you work with psilocybin, it's going to be different each time you work with her because she's going to amplify different things. That's the beauty of it, because a lot of people talk about strains make a big difference, but what we've noticed is it's really just more about what is going on for you. It's an amplification medicine.
Mhm.
And you're gonna have a different experience. Every person's gonna have a different experience with her every time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think she's just so great about bringing what's in your current reality that you might not be looking at. And she just, like you said, she just brings it to the front. And I was telling this to my friend the other day when she was talking about this anger she's scared of. I'm like, there is nothing inside. We are more scared of the feeling and the emotion and the experience than what it would be if we just let ourselves experience it. And so if you are in that camp of like, I'm so scared, when we use psilocybin, when we use this beautiful medicine with intention, she can soften the pathway and help us walk through the gateways and the thresholds of which we have so much fear about, to help us walk through it, to realize, wow, it was in me all along. And I did that. I made that all up to be more than what I thought that it was.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And so, Erica, what would you say for anyone? Like, how can people find you? And then if a woman is like, I want to microdose or I want to do a larger journey, can you just give anyone any direction on where you would, what advice you would have for them or where they would go from there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think microdosing first is such a beautiful way to dip your toes into the water, specifically before maybe a big journey. It's subtle, it's not hallucinogenic, but it does soften, your experience into that. So if you're curious about exploring that, you can visit the Kind Teacher website.
Mhm.
We have a lot of support there to guide people through proper dosage, protocol support, et cetera, because people can utilize different dosing for microdosing. And so for journey support as well, if you're looking to do a large macrodose journey, currently I'm paused with all of that, but they can reach out to me at Erica Day Rising on Instagram, and I can, of course, send them to a practitioner that I highly trust. So that is another way to explore a facilitated experience. Or if you're looking to do that solo, we have options through the Kind Feature as well. And, you know, we can guide you through that whole process. But I think starting with the Kind Teacher is such a great place to start. We have so many resources and information on our website.
Mhm.
And then I also encourage to just, browse the internet for scientific research that's coming out because it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, her website is so resourced. I mean, when I got my microdosing, it was like, do you want a journal that pairs with your protocol? And like Erica has set up so many systems that will really walk you step by step. And if I just feel like I need to say this, I can microdose and still do my life. Like my husband said, he's like, wait, when are you doing that? There's no, um, like I can still mother. I can still like drive and go about my life. I'm not impaired. It really is just a beautiful softening is all. So if there was any of niggling feeling and wondering like, can you still do this? Do your life? You absolutely can. I can
Yeah.
walk, I can drive, I can be with my children, I can take my kids to the trampoline park and, do all of those things. So,
I'm so glad you
um,
said that. That's a really common question we get. And
yeah,
every time I've microdosed, it just helps me be more here
yeah.
in the moment. And so it's such a beautiful way to start a relationship with this medicine.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And I will link all of those in the show notes so that everyone knows exactly where to find you. And Erica, thank you so much for this incredibly nourishing and powerful and soul just conversation today. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing and for having me on, Caitlin.
Yes. Until next time, and everyone, check out The Kind Teacher. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to your heart, please share it with another woman on her journey.
And until next time, stay rooted in your humanity and devoted to your becoming.